Welcome back, beautiful people. Another episode of the Three Amigos podcast. 2 out of 3 falls pod today. Chris and Frankie back. And we're
Woo!
talking about Money
Woo!
in the Bank,
Yes, sir.
which Austin Theory was Money in the Bank champion for about 4 months and just recently lost the briefcase.
Boo!
So yeah, get ready to chant, "Where's your briefcase?" for a while because he's gonna be hearing it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Frankie,
he is.
we chatted briefly before this. There are a lot of opinions about what happened here,
There was a
and
lot of opinions before this too, like how he should do
yeah,
it.
you had some thoughts about Austin Theory losing, and go ahead and elaborate. I believe what you told me was that you thought it was bad. So
Yeah, I didn't get it.
here,
It wasn't. It was more. Yeah, it was more like a comment. It wasn't even full fleshed out thoughts. But
yeah, go
I
ahead,
guess.
go
Thank you,
off,
man.
King.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, my lord. Um, yeah, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not gonna go off the rails and say this is the most. Okay, no, it is one of the worst things they've ever done with Money in the Bank because it went for a secondary title, and the fact that like I'm sure I just haven't seen it. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure the wrestling fans, the dirt sheets, everyone, Meltzer, someone is out there. I'm sure Jim Cornette's like rolling in his grave or something. I don't know, but
In
like
his
someone
grave.
turning. I know it's so mean. He's probably gonna come after me next. uh, but like someone's like turning in their bed, just tossing and just like angrily upset. Like this is the best you could have done, and I get it. He's not. He should. Vince screwed him by giving him the briefcase for for a convoluted story that had no end, and they never fleshed it out. They never like Vince is not a guy who lets his stories grow organically, whereas Trips is, as we know, Johnny Gargano and um Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny and Aleister Black, Johnny and the family, a lot of things Johnny related, but
Also, you're seeing it right now with Sammy and the Bloodline. How he's just
exactly
kind
that
of
was
he's
that exactly.
just
I was
letting
gonna
it
get to that.
go.
Just
Just
letting it
letting it
go.
go.
It was almost an accidental thing that fell on their lap, but it's like it started gaining more and more traction back in May as they were as someone stated or in an article had written it up that by May they were trying to already get Owens into that mix, but they
Yeah.
realized all right, let's stick with this and see where it goes. Since May, 5, 7, 6 months later, it's the hottest thing in wrestling. Everyone's excited to see it. Usi is over.
Ah,
The word Usi is over.
dude,
We want Sammy.
imagine if Triple H had been around when the Rusev Day stuff started up.
Oh my god! Don't even remind me. Another loss. Loss. And look, we can't go down a rabbit hole. Look.
Yeah. Okay,
So
so Theory
Usy's
loses the
over.
briefcase. He goes after a secondary title. You do not like that.
I do not like it. Everything that's growing organically is being well done. This I get was trying to be done organically. They even hinted at it with letting him finally be more like a cocky, confident dude and showing up on NXT and say, I'm gonna cash in on you, and then out of the blue says just randomly, I'm gonna cash in on Seth Rollins after, and this is what Luke said on Wrestle Talk, and he made a good point, and he somehow gave this show almost a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I don't know
He's in
what
the
he was
minority,
on for this
he's in the
one.
minority. I get it. He loved it. He enjoyed the show. He went Simon Miller on everyone with that
Yeah.
review, but like he gave 2 open challenges and he decided to say, well, screw it. I'm going to try and take the easy way out and do this on the second challenge, get him while he's hurt. And it didn't work out. It
Yeah.
was so bad on a secondary title, not on a title he's held already. Like I could
Yeah.
like sure like he could have gone on to SmackDown and try and take Walter, but obviously he's not going to beat Walter unless he's hurt, like really hurt, and no one's hurting
Right.
Walter, or excuse me,
Yeah.
Gunther. No one's hurting Gunther unless it's Matt Riddle or somebody who's like Sheamus. Yeah, obviously Sheamus, but he's
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
So this story, this whole thing, you can't fully blame Trips or Theory for not getting over with the briefcase because it was something he shouldn't have had, at least not
Right.
now, because he's not a credible threat. And I guess and I get it. That's the point of also the Money in the Bank is you're not really a credible threat. You're a sneaky threat. Depends, honestly. Like
Yeah.
Cena is a good Cena. Athena is a credible threat because I mean, at least he won't be sneaky, but he could beat you or like cash
Yeah.
in at a time. You
John
know,
fucking Cena.
he's
Like,
John fucking Cena. Like
yeah.
Cena wins, LOL.
Yeah, the
Um,
man wins. That's all he does is win.
but
Uh,
he is one of only four people who didn't cash successfully. So
yes.
so
Yeah.
there's that. So like, I get you're not always going to be successful in cashing in. I get that, but at least make it for the world title, man. Like put over Braun in a way. I know Braun. We did that podcast where Braun wins, LOL. That they may have a problem there, but like fuck it, just double down then. Show him he's a strong champion. But
Yeah.
like, it's not. It's the way they did it is I'm not a fan. I know Theory's young, he'll bounce back, but like it just feels, and that's another thing is like it just feels like he's getting buried, man. He can't buy a win. He barely wins. He's gotten one win in like since he got the damn case. So I just feel bad. Like I just like when
Yeah.
one person like was like freaking out, this is bad. Triple H is gonna ruin him, and I'm like, relax,
Like,
dude.
bro,
You
Triple
really
H signed this
yeah,
dude.
I
Like,
remember you
fucking
had to
calm
say that.
down.
You said that in one of our
Yeah.
chats, and I'm like, one of our podcasts, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. But that guy might have accidentally be a little bit right because like he's not taking care of his boy. Like he's taking care more of Karrion Cross and all these people that he brought back, which is
Yeah.
a little bit like like come on, you still have people you signed and who made it through the Max Exodus and need your help, to get over.
Yeah.
Um, it took a while, but like stuff with Judgment Day or whatever they're fucking called,
Yeah.
Purple.
Judgment Day.
They finally found their footing. Um, and like this feud is working out for me now. Mia Yim's back, and Mia Yim is getting a better push than Austin Theory.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I feel bad. Luckily for me, I'm not an Austin Theory stan or fan. I mean, I've seen the guy wrestle on the Indies, but like
It's a
that
great
one,
wrestler.
he's a
Great
great
wrestler.
wrestler. His one
Yeah.
fan that time I saw him is probably very upset right now.
Yeah. Seriously.
Nah, if you've been watching this guy since he was a freaking child wrestling in the ring, I feel for you. I would be very worried. Um,
Oh,
a little bit,
why
a
would you
little
be
bit.
worried? Why are people okay? Here's my question.
Sure.
Why is anyone worried about this?
Because it's because like you're seeing how he was getting pushed and I guess from an outside, like putting myself in like a guy who or
Sure.
a fan who's watched this kid grow since the
Yeah.
indies. You realize Vince doesn't like indie wrestlers, but he likes this guy and he's pushing him to the moon. So if you have Vince's approval, you feel like damn, like if he sees it, then everyone else will see it somehow, some way, hopefully.
I
But
mean, I
I,
don't know, bro. He's
I
gotten
get
a
that,
lot wrong.
of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like the fact that again, like big main points, he's an indie guy
Yeah.
getting pushed by events. It's like when everyone thought like AJ was never gonna touch gold or was gonna be like he went to WWE. I don't know if it's the right fit. He immediately won a title. Basically, he
Yeah.
was a world champion. I don't know how Vince was able to look past that he was in TNA, his competition for so long. Pushed AJ. Thank you, Vince. I'll give him that for the recent couple years of wrestling that he did go all in
AJ had a
for
really good
AJ.
run under Vince McMahon. I can't lie.
Exactly. So
Vince
like,
liked him. I don't know how that ended up happening,
don't
other
know.
than like AJ's just really fucking
Maybe
good at
Trips vouched for
wrestling.
him. Maybe Trips. We don't know what
Yeah.
happens behind his. But point
Yeah.
is, like, as a fan, like as an outsider, and watching your boy get the push, and then out of nowhere, it's just like this kid can't buy a win. Like, are they really gonna give up on him? No, obviously not, because he would have been released. Or I mean, look, I
Yeah.
get it. He's the briefcase off him. He could get released. I don't know. Like,
No.
but
I
I don't
like
think that's gonna happen. That's a big stretch. So, but like, I think they're allowed to be a little bit disappointed, if anything. I don't think they're worried. If they are, they're allowed to feel that way because what you're seeing on screen is not anything what it was 5 months ago or even the start of the year, where he was being featured a lot on TV and he didn't look like a joke. He's a joke
yeah.
at this point,
But
and that sucks.
so well, like my part of my theory here, well, God, I'm gonna use that word a lot, and it's not on purpose, I swear. Like part of my theory is that his push under Vince
Mhm.
was gave me so much Drew McIntyre PTSD
Oh yeah,
of
absolutely.
like he's
Fair
gonna
enough.
ruin him. And he
Yeah.
did. He ruined Drew McIntyre to the extent that Drew had to leave the company and like reinvent his entire persona.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't working. Like occasionally, occasionally the Vince McMahon rocket ship works. It worked with John Cena, and then it sort of worked with Roman Reigns, but
Sure.
I don't know how much credit I want to give him for like the last couple of years, because
Of
before that it was
Roman.
brutal.
Well, he tried
But
burying Roman after he left for chemo, so
yeah, with Austin Theory though,
kind
okay.
of.
Here's why I don't have a problem with what happened, and here's why I'm not worried.
Okay.
The first reason, everyone's talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
For better or for worse, I do not remember the Baron Corbin failed cash in. I was not watching when Damian Sandow like lost, and I don't remember John Cena cashing in, and I don't know how he lost, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. But
Same.
this is the most I can remember people talking about a failed cash in recent memory.
Sure.
And I I like that the failed cash-ins happen, because I think it's damaging if the Money in the Bank is then seen as an automatic championship and like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, that's going to be the new champion. The other reason that I don't have a problem with this is that he was always going to lose.
Yeah.
Like from the
Yeah, yeah.
beginning, because of, and it's nobody that's currently involved. It's not their fault, because Roman was made double champ, and to make things worse, the titles were unified. So he's not
Mm-hmm.
WWE and Universal Champion. He's WWE Universal Champion. So he
Yeah.
can't even like you can't even cash it in for one belt and
Yeah.
get some sort of shenanigans where you
Yeah.
somehow win.
And we did
He
hear
was
like there was rumors like they were trying to ununify them or get one of the
yeah,
belts off of them, and so far they to no avail they haven't been able to.
it's really I trust me, dude, I can't think of us a way that makes
It's not
sense.
going to be good. And
Yeah.
it won't
Well,
it won't make too much
so
sense.
right, so that's my whole thing about this was like it was always gonna be
Yeah.
bad
Yeah, yeah.
because he was gonna lose. Like if he cashed in against Roman
And
Reigns.
wins. That's or all right,
But
I'm sorry, go
that
ahead.
was just like that was never going to happen.
No, it
That was
wasn't.
just never going to be an outcome, because they have bigger plans for Roman, and Austin Theory is not part of those plans. So basically, the problem from the beginning is that he had the briefcase. And then the next problem is that, and they did this with Otis a couple of years ago, where the Miz won the briefcase from him, which is like the dumbest
Yeah.
storyline, because it's like, why would the person with the briefcase ever
Put it up.
split it up? It just wouldn't make any
That
sense.
was bad. That was pretty bad.
And
That
I
was very
thought
bad.
like, I guess I thought they teased enough that it was the cash-ins on Roman weren't working. So
Yeah.
in theory, it's like, oh God, it's gonna bother me so much, this fucking guy's name. In theory,
See Austin, damn it.
right? Like, why would he keep cashing in on Roman Reigns? And now Roman Reigns has like even more backup. So it's like
Yeah.
when he tried to cash in at SummerSlam, Solo wasn't there, Sammy wasn't really a big deal. And now the bloodline
Hmm.
is so big that it's just like there's never going to be a scenario where he would have cashed in successfully. I do think he's going to be fine, because he's really good at wrestling. He's a better wrestler than Baron Corbin. He's a better wrestler than Damian Sandow.
Hmm.
He's probably a better wrestler than John Cena. Is he like a better personality? Definitely not. But
It's
like
pretty vanilla.
at 24, is he more talented in the ring than John Cena at that same age? 1,000%. It's
Mm.
a
Yeah.
very like it's a really unique thing that happened, and I think that's part of what almost helps is
Hmm.
that he cashed it in on the title that would make you the most important Raw roster member,
Hmm.
because Roman's not on Raw. He goes on Raw sometimes because he's the Universal Champ, but he's not. He's on the SmackDown roster if we're
Yeah.
using like the roster stuff. So in my mind, I'm like, he's okay. Yes, in a vacuum, this looks really dumb, because why would you cash it in on a mid card belt? At the same time, you can't argue about the mid card belts feeling not that important and then get mad at someone trying to win one of them with their Money in the Bank. Because I think like there's a scenario where I know Triple H wants to elevate that title. He's like trying to elevate it the maximum amount, which is
Right.
like making someone cash in. So I get that it looks dumb. But then there's a part of me that's like, I don't hate it because you want to promote that as, for now, it's the top title on Raw, basically.
Basically.
And that's what he was cashing in. Like, it kind of sucks because it's like you almost have to, it sucks. You almost have to imagine that Seth Rollins is WWE champion, because that, I think, like, that's what this cash in was supposed to be, kicking out of finishers and like people getting involved and all these other, ringside shenanigans.
Hmm.
But it was the US title. I think if Triple H, he booked the angle that he would have booked if Seth Rollins was WWE champion. It just so happened that he's a mid-card belt holder, and so
Yeah.
makes Austin Theory look like a total dork and a loser.
Yeah.
I just think one of the benefits is people are talking about it, and people are talking about Austin Theory.
True.
And like, so his name is getting out there. The fact that he lost is getting out there. How he lost it, where Bobby Lashley got involved. Seth Rollins was injured, sort of. There's going to be all these questions about why did you do it? I think that they're going to play off of this.
Sure.
And so, like, as much as it's frustrating to see things sort of handled the way that they were, I don't think it's like the equivalent of Nikki Cross throwing the 24/7 title in the garbage, which, like, they're just never going to talk about that belt ever again.
Hmm.
But like, I think they're
They
going
retired it
to,
officially today, apparently.
right. Like, I think they're going to talk about this on Monday. Like, they're going to turn this into something that affects Austin Theory's character. He's not just going to forget he was Money in the Bank champion next Monday.
Hmm.
Like, I think they're going to use that, kind of the way Roman schooled him when Vince McMahon got fired. It was like, your daddy's not here anymore. Like, I think they're going to kind of use some of that stuff for him. And I think you're going to
Sure.
see him on TV a lot. And I also think, like, the main, like, solution that you needed was for him to not be the Money in the Bank holder anymore. And
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people's ideas. I didn't say theories. A lot of
Hmm.
people's ideas about how you could have done this differently. And to me, in all of these scenarios, they're not good.
I
I
mean, I really even the one that we talked about, if him just cashing in on Braun, like
no.
I thought that was a good idea. You said you didn't hate
I
that
thought,
idea.
like, at the time I was like into it because it was something I hadn't considered, like someone
I mean,
cashing in on an
yeah, because
NXT belt.
I feel like we went pretty in depth too, unless it was off screen. I can't
Yeah.
remember, but like we went in depth, like saying like he should be the face of NXT because he's
Well,
still
that's the
so
thing
young.
though, is like if their plans were long-term plans on Austin Theory going back to NXT just indefinitely, then that would have made sense. But those are clearly not the plans. Like, whether we like it or not, that's not what they're doing with him. They're not sending him back to NXT. And to be honest, like, I don't know if he needs to go back to NXT. Like, this is, it sounds so weird, but this is like the hottest he's ever been. It's
I
like the fact
guess.
that he, like, totally botched his cash in.
But see, the way you say he doesn't need to go back to NXT is you're saying it like it's developmental, where in their mind, especially Triple H's mind, it's a third brand. It's supposed to be a third brand. So
Yeah, I don't really
so
know what NXT is supposed to be right
it's
now,
supposed to be a third
unfortunately.
brand. So like the way you're phrasing it sounds like developmental, and that I guess to you in your mind, it's not. It's still it's still developmental. So they're failing you in that department. Like they haven't
Yeah.
convinced you that it's a third brand. Neither have me. They haven't to me, but nothing feels more credible than having a young star, a guy who's had main roster television time, screen time, pay-per-view time, and gotten the rub from one of the longest running minds in wrestling in Vince. That helps him in NXT to keep fleshing out and eventually being ready to be a world champion, especially if you do plan on giving him the big one. He waits his turn until like they finally take the belts off Roman. So I thought that would have been more beneficial, is just cash in, get it, get beat Braun. And they've been teasing moving Braun up. I mean, granted, that was more of a Vince thing, but like,
Yeah. But even then, it's like, why should Braun Breaker have to pay the price for, like, Vince McMahon shoving the briefcase onto this guy who wasn't ready? Like, Braun
yeah,
Breaker doesn't, we talked about this. He doesn't deserve to lose the title yet. Like,
no, he
there,
didn't deserve to do it, lose it to Ziggler, but that happened.
the thing is, like, I could have I could have seen him winning the US title,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's that big of a deal that he lost because of how he lost. Like if
Sure.
he had come down and like Seth had just like given him an immediate curb stomp and like 1, 2, 3 and the match was over, I would have been like, all right, this guy's like kind of a dork. And he still looks like a dork. But at least they did something to try to cover their tracks of like Bobby Lashley beat him up a bunch and then Seth beat him up a bunch and he just couldn't kick out anymore. And Seth kicked out of everything because he's like the top babyface on Raw now, I think.
Hmm.
But this kind of leads into something I wanted to talk about, which is specifically in relation to Austin Theory being given the Money in the Bank, which is how the Money in the Bank has changed over the years. And the fact that the way it stands right now, I don't think it matters anymore. I feel like all
Hmm.
significance of Money in the Bank from when we were kids,
Sure.
right? Like CM Punk won it a couple times, Edge, like it was always a Big E most recently, like that was
Hmm.
really exciting. Um, it was a big deal, but one of the reasons I think it's not working right now is that Money in the Bank used to be guys that were already being built up and people wanted to see them win a championship. And then you put the Money in the Bank briefcase on them and then they cash it in and win. Like we felt that when Big E won the title
Mm,
most recently. It was
yeah.
like he'd been in the company for so long, he like absolutely deserved it. So talented in the ring, and like finally happened, and he got his world title.
Yeah.
But he had also been like built up. He had people rooting for him, and most recently with guys like Otis and guys like Austin Theory, nobody really believes or wants to see them win the title. So then you're giving them this albatross of like they have to win or they might, and
Hmm.
nobody wants to see it. So it just kind of feels like the rocket ship approach that Money in the Bank used to be interpreted as was actually like a strategic way to give someone that one last push to get them the belt. And now it feels like it is just a rocket ship push. It's like, let's just get the Money in the Bank on him and then we'll fucking give him the title and we'll just see what happens. And to me, sort of feels like right now, like let's say right now, Sami Zayn won Money in the Bank. People would be like, "Oh my god, this is what we want to see." Like he's going to cash it in. He's going to become the next champion. Like that feeling only makes sense because Sami Zayn's been built up for the last several months and
Hmm.
it's like something that people would pop crazy for. And it just doesn't feel like they've done that with Money in the Bank enough. It feels like right now, I would just get excited if Sami Zayn faced Roman Reigns for the title at WrestleMania. Like he doesn't need a briefcase. It's just like it's a match that is exciting and the possibility of him winning is exciting. And so I
Yeah.
guess my question to you is like, I guess two questions. How do you feel about the current state of the Money in the Bank contract? And do you think there is a way to sort of salvage the fact that it, at least to me, I don't know about other people, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal anymore. Now that we've got four people
Sure.
who've lost, two of
I,
them pretty recently in the last like couple of years. Also, Braun technically lost because he cashed it in a pay-per-view and then lost the match. But that doesn't I I don't know if that technically counts as like a failed cash in and like sprinting
Wait,
into the
Braun?
ring or something. Yeah, he cashed
Oh
it in
yeah.
on Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns or something in like Hell in a Cell. Then he lost the match.
Oh yeah, that's a field technically a field cash in.
Yeah, I guess, but I only heard about Baron, Cena, Sandow, and Austin Theory. So I don't know exactly how that works, but I don't know, man. I've when I after all this Austin Theory stuff, like I just started thinking about sort of what the Money in the Bank contract was when we were kids and sort of what
Hmm.
it is right now, where Brock Lesnar won the Money in the Bank. Like Austin Theory won the Money in the Bank. Otis won it, and then the Miz took it. Like just
Yeah.
feels like what
So
what happened?
I think, yeah, the last few ones have definitely felt less important. I think the last big one for me was definite. I think the last big one that people really enjoyed was probably back when we weren't as fully attentive. Like right when Dean Ambrose had won it, I remember because it was like, oh, Finn Balor, the Demon, who is this guy? And the next thing you know,
Yeah,
he wasn't Universal Champion anymore. That's when we started paying attention. But like
yeah.
that sucks. We got back in at a bad time, but we fuck it. We suffered through. But Dean Ambrose winning was, I think, the last really big important
Oh,
one.
wait, that was when it was Roman
2016.
Seth, and Roman was champion when the night started. Seth won the title, and
Yeah,
then Dean cashed it in on Seth.
yeah,
That was
exactly.
wild. And all three members of the Shield were champion on the same night. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that was the last big important one. I think
Yeah,
Braun winning didn't help him. It's elevated nobody. Brock won it, didn't need to, but I guess it helps his accolades of being a Royal
right.
Rumble winner, undisputed champion twice, three times, whatever you want to call it. Um,
He also wasn't in the match. He
yeah, that
was
was
like,
dumb.
he just like
Which happened
walked
twice
in
within
like
like
towards the end of the match.
a 4 year time span. Like, he won it in 2000. It was 2019. He was just inserted randomly without without cause. At least with I think this year, Vince like kind of like came out and announced it
Yeah,
as theory came out. But I get it. I hear what you're saying, and you make a valid point. Um, and in a way, you've convinced me. Like, yeah, like I think, and even during this with the failed cash in, this convinced me more that uh they don't know how to properly book a Money in the Bank anymore, or at least like the
right.
contract. With the women's, it's different. There's more. It's stuff we have never seen before up until when was it they first brought it? 2017? Yeah,
Yeah,
2017.
it's a lot fresher. So
And
they
they
could do a
botched
lot of
that
the
though.
same
But they
shit and it
botched the first
feels,
one. A
yeah.
man won it because
Well, oh, Jesus Christ.
and I
Yeah.
remember I think there were talks. They were all just rumors, and but I'm pretty sure, and I'm willing to believe it that Mrs. Money in the Bank was supposed to be a purse, not even a briefcase. So
Wow.
take that for what it
Wonder
is.
who came up with that idea.
Wonder who came up with that idea.
Hmm.
But um, you know, with the women, it makes sense. So it with the men's and technically with the women still, it has the opportunity to open up a new, I guess, a new rule set now that Austin cashed in on the mid card.
Right. It definitely added another dimension.
So
Like,
now, there is that opportunity. Like if they decide to go that route, but in any and really in any logical world, you want to go for the world championship. So like that's so like
yeah.
it gives me a little bit of confliction. Or fine, like add another stipulation. Here's one stipulation. They talked about tag teams. Like Otis was like, "Oh, me and Tucker are gonna go for the tag titles." That was a nice
That
thought,
would
but
have been
like,
cool. That honestly
but
would have been cool.
like
Yeah.
I think Luke said like, "Oh, but everyone gets a tag team title shot." But yeah, but you can't surprise them. In my head, I was like, you can't surprise them. You can't just after say like the
Right.
Usos just finished, a crazy match. Well, you got to face us now. Sorry.
Right,
But
right.
that's a very heelish thing to do. But it doesn't matter, a cash in's a cash in. Other thing that I just
Yeah.
came into my head, and you heard it here, folks. I don't know, maybe I don't know, but what if you can use the contract to pick whatever number you want in the Royal Rumble? That I think that's something that could be cool. I think,
Be interesting. Or
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 like
yeah.
use it for a stipulation, like oh, there's an elimination chamber, or for war games,
Yeah.
something like you get to pick whatever you want in terms that it's an advantage to you.
Yeah. I
That's
guess
something that
like
could change it.
I guess what the way I'm sort of feeling right now about the Money in the Bank is that like we've gotten really far away from it helping.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Yeah, I guess so.
feels
Yeah, no, I
like
know.
even when Biggie won the title, he never felt like a real champion.
Well, that's
That
besides
was
like
also
other shit.
because of a lot of the booking. But I
Yeah.
just mean like would it have been any different if he had just had a regular title match and won the championship? Like, like, are we at a point where I mean, because that Money in the Bank briefcase was holding Austin Theory back so badly because of
Yeah,
what's expected.
yeah.
Like you carry it with you everywhere. Like it's not like when you were in the Royal Rumble, you don't fucking have to wear a t-shirt that says like I won the like you don't carry anything. You just won the Royal Rumble. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to go everywhere with that briefcase. It's like expected at any moment you might,
Mm-hmm.
show up and try to cash in. And
Yeah.
it just felt like that becomes your whole character, becomes you're the Money in the Bank guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter who you are, just you're the Money in the Bank guy. And like I don't know, I was thinking back to when Edge did it to John Cena, which was like when the first time everybody lost
Yeah.
their shit,
And
like
they,
oh my god, this is possible.
yeah,
Um,
it's
and
great.
that was special, but it almost feels like it's the sort of thing where how many times can you have someone run down after a match and cash in Money in the Bank where people are like, hey, that's exciting. Like, yeah, I guess it kind of depends who it is. And so, like, to me now, it's like, well, if it depends who it is, then why give them the briefcase at all? Because in theory, you're now saying, like, well, this is the person that should get the push. Then just push them. You don't have to give them this, like,
Mm-hmm.
weird albatross around their neck of, like, well, now every time you see this person, you have this expectation of them. Like, to me, Austin Theory losing the briefcase is like now there are no expectations. Now he's just Austin Theory.
Yeah.
Like for a while, for a little while, he's going to be the guy who failed cashing in on a mid card belt. Like for
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
while,
So is Baron.
yeah.
You get
But
over it. It gets through.
but I feel like I mean, obviously, like the problem is he should have never won it in the first place. But in
Yeah.
general, I guess this has just gotten me feeling like I don't even know how much like like I think what I said to you is like, is Money in the Bank outdated? Like, is this just
Yeah,
an
that's what you
outdated
said. I remember.
concept of
Yeah.
like
It's
it's a
so
good way to
weird.
push someone, but is it the best way, or are you now damaging like because whatever your opinions are of what happened with Austin Theory, it's hard to not say that the overwhelming perception is that it's severely damaged his like character, potential, people caring, whatever.
Hmm.
Like they think he's a loser, a dork, chasing a mid card belt that he's already won. He's dumb, like all this stuff. Like you could just not have Money in the Bank. Like we've heard, rumors of Triple H putting it back on WrestleMania, getting rid of the pay per view, which I think is a good idea.
It is a good idea. I think that's another
Um,
reason I think it's like hurting you. It's like it's having itself in itself be a standalone pay-per-view. As cool as the
yeah.
concept is, and I think it still can be cool and still hold merit, it doesn't need to have its own pay-per-view. Just like Elimination
Yeah.
Chamber doesn't need to have its own pay-per-view or Hell in the Cell.
Yeah. It also, I don't know, like thinking about all this and like the way Money in the Bank used to work, which is like it was a full year. And I think Seth Rollins is the only one who waited. No, wait, no, was that still when it was on WrestleMania and then he won it and then cashed in at the end of the night? I think that was it.
I think,
Um, no
yeah,
one's ever waited the full year. So to me, it almost feels like you don't, based on how brutal this was for 4 months of Austin Theory being Money in the Bank champion, you should also just get rid of the 1 year thing. Like it should be, I don't know, 6 months or something, because
mm,
this was such a detriment to such a talented wrestler for 4 months that like I can't imagine this guy being Money in the Bank champion for a full year into like next July, just being Money
yeah,
in the Bank champion.
yeah,
Like it just, or even if it, went into WrestleMania, I think I'm kind of at the point where either they have to rework it in some way or mess around with the idea of not making it a yearly thing. Like there isn't a Money in the Bank person every year. Maybe it's every 2 years or,
yeah. I was
I
thinking
don't
that too.
know. Um,
Or just honestly do what Charlotte did and actually like go after the NXT title and or
yeah.
just include NXT people in there too. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I think like at the end of the day, I don't hate the NXT thing, but I think I also just feel like you're kind of at a point now where you could just do number one contenders matches. Like
Yeah.
it's a gimmick. The Money in the Bank is a gimmick. In theory, you could just do a number one contenders match at any point. They've even turned elimination chambers into number one contenders matches before.
Yeah, that's true.
The Royal Rumble is literally a glorified number one contenders match. Like,
Yeah.
how many of those do you need? But and even the Royal Rumble, It's
Yeah.
only 3 months. You win the Royal Rumble, and then it's only 3 months till you decide who you want to face. So it sort of to me feels like this is becoming more trouble than it's worth, and I just am not sure if it needs to exist anymore. If it does, then maybe they got to rework it.
Maybe they do, but that's all the time we have for now, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, beautiful people of the podcasting universe. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you in the next one. Peace.